Hello and good day everyone. My name is Robbie Petrika. I'm a network security consultant from Cape Town, South Africa. And I've been wanting to do some Fortinet operational videos for quite some time already, but there just has never been any. With lockdown, well, I've got the opportunity now. So today I'm going to take the opportunity to take you through the basic setup of a FortiGate. To do that, I'm using a GNS3 simulator environment, which allows you to spin up a variety of virtual machine images from network devices to security devices to servers and endpoints. One of the nice benefits of GNS3 is that it provides an out-of-band console for most of these. A quick overview of my network design. I have my FortiGate over here with two internet connections. There's a local LAN connection to a switch. As well, I have a few endpoints. By default, the FortiGate becomes pre-configured from the factory on its internal LAN interfaces with the IP address 192.168.1.99. But I'm going to change that to apply to our local LAN. We'll make use of the FortiGate's console to do that. I'm going to log in with the default credential of admin and no password. We'll go to the interface configuration section and configure the port 10, which is going to be our LAN port. As you can see, there's no IP addressing information at the moment, so we'll add this. I'm going to use 10.10.10.1 with a Class C submask for this interface, and I'm going to set a number of management access types for this. HTTPS, HTTP, SSH, ping, and the FortiManager access type. Once we're happy with our changes, we can save them. We should be able to access the device from our testing workstation. Let's refresh this page, and yes, we do have our login page. We'll log in with the default credentials, and the first time we do log in, the FortiGate will prompt us to change our password. We'll set a super secret password of admin. We then log in again with the new credentials and are presented with the dashboard page. This is a default page which provides a number of widgets, including the system information widget, the license widget, and a number of resource monitor widgets. The dashboard page is fully customizable via the settings section at the top right hand of each widget. In addition, you can add new widgets as well as add complete dashboards with your own custom widgets in them. We're going to change some basic settings now, and we'll do that from the System and Settings menu. The first thing that we're going to change is the host name of the device. I'll set that to FGT1. We'll set the time zone. If I can find it, yes, here we go. The next item is I'm going to increase the default idle timeout, as the original setting is quite short. And the last item in the system settings section is we're going to change the inspection mode from flow-based to proxy. Also in system, we can upgrade firmware if we need to. We can add administrators and administrative profiles, and we can change the visibility of features that we see in the UI. I like to make sure that advanced routing is enabled DNS database, domain and IP reputation, local reports, and multiple interface policies. In the security feature section, I'll enable anti-spam filter, data loss prevention, and web application firewall. And we'll accept these changes. Once we are done with our features, we'll move on to the network settings for our firewall. We'll go to Network and Interfaces, and here we can see that there are 10 interfaces assigned for this particular virtual machine. I'm going to start with my internal LAN interface, which is port 10. We set the IP address for this earlier through the console. First item I'll do is set a name for the interface. I'll call it LAN. We're going to assign the LAN role to this interface. Here are the administrative access types that we set earlier. And because we want to offer automatic IP addressing to our internal systems, we'll enable the DHCP server. There's our IP range set already, as well as our name mask. Our default gateway will be the interface IP itself. As well, we want the interface IP of the FortiGate to accept DNS requests. Last, we're going to enable device detection for this firewall, which allows it to gain some information about all the endpoint devices that are on this local network. We accept these changes. Next, we'll move on to port 1, which will be our first WAN interface. I'm going to call this interface WAN 1. I'll assign the WAN role to it. You can see that it already has an IP address assigned to it because it's set to DHCP, and it's retrieving a default gateway from the DHCP server. The routing distance for this interface is 5. As well, there's a number of administrative access types set for the interface. Normally you wouldn't use these for a public facing interface, but as this is just a demo, they are selected. Last, for this WAN interface, I'm going to block outgoing connections to botnet sites. We'll accept these changes and then move on to the second WAN interface, port 2. So I'll call this one WAN 2, assign it the WAN role, switch it to DHCP. The retrieve default gateway setting is enabled. As well, we have a standard routing distance of 5. I'm going to enable some administrative access types, and once again block connections to botnet sites, and we'll accept these changes. It might take a few seconds for this port to get an IP address since we've changed it to DHCP. Let's refresh this view. Yes, as you can see, we now have an IP address assigned to this interface. Our next section in network is DNS, and by default the FortiGate will use FortiGuard service for DNS, but I'm going to set my own manually. We'll use Cloudflare for the primary and Google for the secondary. I'll set a local domain name and apply those changes. As we set the interface IP of the FortiGate to listen for DNS requests from clients on that network, we need to enable DNS forwarding for that interface. So we'll create a new DNS service on the LAN port. Here we select the LAN interface, make sure it's set to forward to system DNS, and click OK. Last, for the networking section, are our routes. Normally we would set static routes here for the default gateways on each of our WAN interfaces, but seeing as our WAN interfaces are using automated DHCP addressing, these are set automatically. We can see these in the monitor and routing monitor section. Here are the two interfaces set. you'll notice that they have the same default distance of 5 for DHCP interfaces. Because these are the same, equal cost multipath routing ECMP takes place. This causes traffic to be load balanced across the two interfaces. By default, this will use the source IP as the load balancing algorithm. We have two remaining items to set as part of our basic setup. The first is our log settings under the log and report section. As this is a FortiGate virtual machine, it includes some disk, therefore we can log to the local disk. We'll also make sure that local reports are enabled, as well as historical FortiView. Other targets for logging include FortiAnalyzer and Manager. We will use that at a later stage. Syslog and cloud logging via FortiCloud. Currently we are logging all events on this device. We are resolving host names to IP addresses in the logs, and we are also using FortiGuard to resolve unknown applications. We'll apply these changes. The very last item to look at is threat weight. Threat weight sets the thresholds and values for the threat system in the FortiGate, which is used for analytics and determining the risk or rating of devices. The defaults are generally okay, but I'm going to make a few changes. Those are okay. You can also change the values that are assigned to each risk level, but I think the defaults apply quite well. And that is it for the basic setup of the FortiGate. Next we'll move on to policies and security profiles. Let's look at policies and security profiles now. We'll go to the policy and object section and IPv4 policy. There's only the implicit deny policy included by default. This means that absent any policies that allow traffic, all traffic will be blocked. The FortiGate uses a top-down system for matching policies and executing them. If nothing is matched in a policy, the file moves on to the next policy to check for match, and so on. If no policies are matched at all, then the implicit deny rule takes precedence. I choose to create policies specific to certain types of traffic. This is so that you can target these policies with related security profiles, checks and protections. So we're going to start our policy set by creating a new policy. We'll make this for web traffic. The traffic will initiate from clients on the internal interface, which is our LAN port, and it will go out on the external interfaces of WAN 1 and WAN 2. The source of our traffic will be our local network. We don't currently have a network object for it, so we'll just choose all. The destination will be anywhere on the internet. And for servers, we're going to choose the predefined web access service group that is provided. This includes HTTP, HTTPS and DNS. We want this policy to accept traffic as the action. We will NAT all sessions to the outgoing interface address. We will log all details about the traffic and enable the policy. Next, we'll create a policy for email traffic. Give it a name. Our incoming interface is LAN, outgoing WAN 1 and WAN 2. The source will be anything on our local network, destination, anything on the internet. The service will be the predefined email service group, and as you can see we have a number of email protocols included here. We'll use an action of accept. We'll NAT the traffic again to the external interface address. log all sessions, enable the policy, and accept those changes. As you can see now, we have two policies which will accept and allow traffic for web protocols and email protocols. Another parameter that we can use to action policies is the schedule parameter, and this allows you to action policies based on time periods through repetition or once-off schedules. At the very end of our policy list, we have a bytes counter which shows us how much information has passed through this policy. At the moment, these policies are performing simply as a stateful firewall. To enable security, we need to make use of security profiles, and that's our next task. We now need to create or adjust security profiles that we can apply to our policies. There are a number of different security profile types, including antivirus, web filter, and application control, and we'll use some of these within our policies. I'm going to make use of the default profile for each security feature that is predefined on the firewall. For antivirus, the defaults are fine, and you'll notice that there are a number of protocols that antivirus scanning supports. We'll move on to the web filter, and because this is a demo unit that is not licensed, the FortiGate will indicate as much, and certain subscription services from FortiGate will not work. This includes the category-based web filter. Therefore, we will disable this in our demo. There are, however, a few items and parameters that we need to enable, including allowing websites when a rating error occurs, such as in our case, when there is no license. We want to rate URLs by domain and IP address, and we also want to rate images. We'll accept those changes. For application control, you'll notice that most of these application control categories are set with an action of monitor by default. This is so that the FortiGate can calculate information about the applications that pass through the unit. We generally don't set the unknown applications category to monitor, as this can generate a large amount of logging information. We're going to block a few of these categories, including proxy, peer-to-peer, and social media. At the bottom, we will allow and log DNS traffic. We're going to block traffic for the quick protocol, so that any browsers using this protocol will revert to the standard HTTP protocol. The reason for this is that the FortiGate cannot check certain types of traffic that are included in the quick protocol, or apply these changes. The last security profile feature we're going to look at is anti-spam. We'll enable this subsystem. I'm going to set the spam action for all email protocols to tag, and I'm going to change the tag format to FG spam for each type, so that we can recognize emails that have been tagged by the FortiGate easily. For the FortiGate spam filtering options, I'm going to enable URL check and detect phishing URLs in email. We can apply these changes. Note that some of these parameters won't take effect due to the fact that this unit is unlicensed. Once we've configured our security profiles, we can assign them to policies. I'll go back to policy and objects and IP4 policy. We're going to edit our web policy and apply some of the profiles that we edited earlier. These are the antivirus profile, the web filter profile and the application profile. I'm going to include another profile here for the IPS sensor. It's called Protect Client and is a very useful protection for attacks that might occur on endpoints. We'll accept these changes. I will then go edit my email policy and set some of the security profiles that we edited earlier, including antivirus, anti-spam, as well as the Protect Client IPS sensor. Now that we have our security profiles applied to our policies, two things will occur. First of all, the firewall will be able to recognize applications and log additional information about the traffic that is flowing through these policies. The second thing that will occur is that the firewall will actively apply protection to the traffic triggered by these policies. We are now going to test our policies by generating some traffic within our browser. I'm going to open a new browser tab and go to Google Search. This confirms that at minimum we are allowed internet access. I'll do a search and we'll follow one of the results. I'm going to open up a new tab and go to another site, if I can spell it correctly, and I'm going to open another site and one last site. As you can see, all our sites have loaded. Now we'll go back to our FortiGate. We'll refresh our policy page and we'll note that in the bytes column we are seeing some usage. How do we check or get further information on our traffic? The first option is FortiView. This shows the number of views through which we can view our traffic, and it's similar to a spreadsheet pivot table where we're looking at the same data through different perspectives. Some of these views include the sources view. You'll note that we see our client here showing us the data usage for this client, the amount of sessions they have, and the bandwidth throughput currently in use. We can double click on this IP address for further information. In the application section, you'll note that the firewall has successfully identified a number of applications. We can see the policies that have triggered for this traffic, as well as the raw sessions for all this traffic. The second view that's quite useful is the applications view. This shows an aggregate of traffic usage for specific applications traveling through our firewall. We can double click on any of these to get more information. For example, for the HTTPS browser application type, we see a source of 10.10.10.100, which is our client. We can also see the session specific to this application. We can also view traffic from the point of view of policies, as well as interface. A very useful view inside the interface's FortiView dashboard is interface pair, where we can choose to view traffic between two interfaces. The FortiGate allows you to create custom dashboards where you can place your own widgets. These widgets can be FortiView views. I'm going to create a dashboard now. Call it FortiView Custom. I'll choose the knock option and a 6 grid size. We'll go to the new dashboard and add some widgets. These will be from FortiView. The first one we'll select is applications, and we're going to choose it for the current time period or real time. We'll then choose the sources view, and once again it will be for the current time period. We can of course add additional widgets. The second place where we can view information about our firewall is in log and report and forward traffic. The log gives us an in-depth view of the traffic log data for traffic that is moving through the firewall. We can double click on any entry to get a more in-depth look at that particular session. The next thing we're going to do is to check that the protection services on the firewall are working correctly. We're going to go to the EICAR site and make use of the downloadable test file that is included with an antivirus pattern. We'll select download, download, and then move further down the page to choose one of the links for the download. I'm going to choose eicar.com first. Here we can see that the file has successfully blocked this download. I'm going to choose another link, in this time a zip archive. We'll see again that the file has blocked the download. The last option I'm going to choose is one of the links from an HTTPS source, and you'll note that this time the firewall has allowed the download. This is because we are currently not inspecting SSL encrypted traffic for malicious threats. We would need to enable the deep packet inspection feature for this purpose. We'll look at that in a later video. We can now go back to our firewall and inspect logs and FortiView for information on our block events. Here follows a quick summary of the actions that we've taken during this demo. The first is we've set up some system basics like the hostname, time in NTP, and enabled visibility of certain features. We've then configured the networking as far as the interface is concerned, checked the routing configuration, enabled DHCP, and enabled some DNS options. We've then confirmed log settings as well as threat weight. We've also made sure that we can see our default gateways in the routing table. The next section we've moved to is policies, and we have created some policies that will allow traffic. These have been split into two policies referring and relating to two different sets of services. One was for web access and the other for email access. We've then browsed some websites to confirm activity on our firewall, and we've made sure that the protection services are working in our security profiles by trying to download malicious code. That's it for the basic setup of the FortiGate. I hope you've enjoyed this session. I'll be looking to do more sessions with in-depth details about certain functions, including deep packet inspection. extended security profile settings and authentication. Thanks very much for your time. Click the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for further videos, and comment. Thank you.